edit video.
You're a master at it. You have perfect videos. I love them.
Oh, thank you. I'm just so excited about all of this.
I am.
Okay.
I am too.
Greetings and welcome, everyone. Hi there, I'm Lynn Hawkins. I'm your host of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show, Powerful Conversations for Living Your Best Life. And our guest today is Beverly Whitlow. And we're in the conversation about menopause, ups and downs. And while I share with you some information about dear Beverly, who is a very dear friend of mine, I want you to know, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh my gosh.
I see your beautiful picture.
All right, well, we're gonna redo the front end of this because.
There you go, it's populating.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. I'm so excited that you decided to join us today. I'm Lynn Hawkins. I'm your host of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. And our guest today is Beverly Whitlow. We're in the conversation about menopause, the ups, downs, ins, and outs. And guess what? There are some that we are just going to poke holes in. We are going to flip on their ear and then upside down, because I think it's important for us to know, women and men, that menopause is not what we were basically trained to think that it was. And so kick back, listen, pull up a chair to the table and participate in the conversation. Put us some comments in the comment section below, because we would love to answer your questions and or dialogue with you later, because this is an important subject. Now, who is Beverly Whitlow? I'm so happy that she decided to join us, because on her journey, she has become CEO of Beverly Hills Health Wellness Coaching, and she's a certified health coach. And she's come into the space of enlightenment, found new courage and a message to empower women. So as a certified health coach, a fitness and holistic balanced living has really has and continues to be her heart's desire. Even though she says she didn't grow up feeling supported around her healing gift, when the light was turned on, the fire ignited, and she knew it was what she was meant to do. Beverly's committed to helping women find themselves and know they're not alone, and that they can elegantly transform their body and their lifestyle, having more of the life they dreamed of. So Beverly's going to be sharing her wisdom, her passion, and her light with us. And I'm so happy, because menopause has its ups, its downs, its ins and outs, and we're going to be in that conversation. So without further ado, hi, Beverly. Welcome to the show.
Hi, so happy to be here. And I am so thrilled to be sharing this conversation with your audience. This is such a powerful conversation.
Wonderful. I'm excited about it because when I was growing up, not a lot of people talked about menopause. When we were being prepared for womanhood, menopause didn't come up as a subject that we needed to know something about. So before we get into the conversation, tell us a little bit more about you and your journey to focus on helping women with their health and wellness, especially on this topic of menopause.
Well, I became a proponent of health and wellness when I was young, but not really understanding what health and wellness was. One of the most challenging things that happened in my life was that my sister died, and she was very young, very young. And that has always stayed with me, because she was constantly under the doctor's care. She was always taking medication, and I was seeing her change, and I felt it was a result of the medication. But as a young person, you can't share that with the adults in your life and say that there's something wrong with this. This is a broken process. And I've been an advocate of like eating vegetables. We grew up on property that has acres and acres of land, and we had fruits and vegetables that were just available to us where we can go and just enjoy it. And I found that that was satisfying to me. It was so enjoyable for me. And I think that with my sister's health, she was not given the opportunity to seek out a holistic way to manage what she was going through. So that was a major impact and turning point, I think, in my life, that I realized that I'm going to take care of my health. And I was the black sheep in the family. When it was time to have dinners, I was like, I didn't want to eat what they were cooking. And it's just like, I ended up fasting a lot because I didn't want. So I've been on this journey of lifetime. I think maybe it's probably something that was innate in me. And as I got older and got in this space of perimenopause, I realized that, oh, I have the capability within myself to work through whatever is going on in my body, because my body is so smart.
Yes, our bodies are so smart. And we've gotten to where
Smartphones and smart cars. I'm like, we have smart bodies.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, we've gotten to where we've discounted the wisdom of our bodies. And, many of us turned it off. And, then when we started hearing our bodies, it was telling us that it wasn't liking something, that it was having an issue with something. And we didn't know how to even interpret that.
Mm-hmm.
And so today, we're looking at a lot of things being different because we have had to figure this out. And I'm so glad that you're here with us, because we're going to do some figuring things out. We're going to do some figuring things out and laying some things on the table for our guests, because again, I have felt the force of me being a real disruptor in this space where, we go and take an antibiotic for this and, a thing for that. And, if we even just picked up some healthy vitamin supplements versus some of the other things that we're looking for, we would probably be in much better shape. But, you and I have had this conversation before. There's something even more natural than, a supplement, a good, healthy supplement. And that's the food that we eat.
Yes.
But before we really get into that, or bring more of that into the conversation, there's just such a touching story about your sister.
Yeah.
And what really opened you up to deciding to do things differently from what you were seeing as you were growing up. Did the women in your family outside of your sister actually live long lives? Did they live healthy, long lives, irrespective of some of the, non historical foods? I'll put it that way. Our ancient foods that we can grow out of the ground and eat, or at least back then we could, a lot easier than now.
Okay, so I think the holistic and the naturopathic way, I got that from my grandmothers. Like, they were women who went out in nature and they pulled bark off the tree and they made teas, or they had a certain type of grass that they would boil. So I always saw home remedies. I felt that it was a little odd, like, why won't you just go to the doctor, But just seeing that, I understand now what that was. And I think by the time I came along and my sisters came along, the tide was changing and people were looking for convenient ways to do things or trying to get a quick fix for things. And the women's lib movement. I think a lot of things played into it. And so you were kind of getting away from that natural holistic path into things that were much more packaged and stamped with approval and ease. And I think that that's where the conversation around like where medicine works to take care of problems was kind of the narrative. But that narrative to me was something that I kind of bought into as a child, because you know when you go to the doctor, you don't have a lot of pushback. It's like, okay, you got this wrong, you take this antibiotic. And I literally have had probably been on antibiotics like all of my life, having tooth problems with infections and taking an antibiotic for that, or having some stomach issues, just like, just a myriad of little things, like breaking out, more antibiotics. And as I was getting older, trying to figure out like what's going on with my body. And it's just like, I've been taking all of these substances without question, because, this is what you were ushered into. But now, like, this is the thing that I love about menopause. It gives you a new lease on life. You will say, no, let me check this out for myself. And that's what I did. I did a deep dive on all things that was going on. And that's what led me down the path of getting my health and wellness certification, because I needed to figure it out. And there's answers to, what you're going through.
There are. So
Yeah.
let's kind of bring in, what are some of the most common symptoms of menopause?
Okay, so I'm going to go with a totally different answer from what the norm is. So I would say sleep is something that I hear a lot about, especially during menopause, because your hormones are changing and it's really challenging to get a full night's sleep. You're probably still working, have long hours, a lot of things on your mind, you can't get good sleep. Also, you have difficulty maintaining, your bladder all night, and you're up and down going back to the restroom. So I would say sleep is the disruptor to me. That was the big eye opener, like, what's wrong with me? Because I'm the person, when I lay my head down, I've had a peaceful day, I did everybody good, and I'm gonna sleep. Whether that's 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, I was sleeping. And then when I was going through that phase, I wasn't able to sleep. I'm like, what is up with that? And I have a tip, remind me to share on what we can do to help with sleeping. So I'm gonna flip back to what you will hear if you would Google or have conversation with women about what the symptoms are related to menopause. You hear hot flashes. There's mood swings, there's insomnia in certain levels, there's bone problems, there's muscle atrophy, there's sexual femininity that shifts. There's like a litany of things. There's heart palpitations. So each woman's experience about menopause can be different, or probably will have aspects that's different. So you can't say a one size fits all. If you have hot flashes, then that's my menopause. Like everybody who's a woman going through menopause is going to have hot flashes. That's not true. I had some hot flashes, but I wouldn't say that my hot flashes were troublesome. I don't know whether I was blessed. I don't know whether I had the mindset, but to me, I was kind of intrigued by it when they came on. I'm like, oh, so I'm gonna do this like a contraction. I'm gonna have my watch, I'm gonna time it, I'll find out when it happens. I was never able to track it, and it came and went just like that. I don't even know whether it was 6 months. I don't know. I have no idea. So that just dispels this myth that if you're going through menopause, you're going to have this terrible bout of hot flashes. Now I can't say that some women have had challenges with that, but we don't know what their diet is. We don't know what they're eating that's fostering that problem. So yes, menopause is different for every woman. So you see, I'm excited. I'll keep going.
Well, you mentioned something, and I have to say that my experience was very similar. I was like through it, and I was like, oh, I did have a couple of hot flashes. And, none of the other things like the mood swings and moodiness and I mean, if it was there, it was not noticeable to me or others, because I had people in my life that would call me out. It was like, what, they'd be the first ones. What is wrong with you? And, when I think about that, I asked the same question. Well, maybe I'm just blessed. But then I had to also look at what was I doing? And I can honestly say I was very physically active. I was eating. I can't say that I was eating the best diet, but I was eating very well. Lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of salads. And is that what you were experiencing as well?
Yeah, I would have to say that I have a background that maybe is similar to yours. I know you were like a fitness trainer, like you were like marathon bike riding. I kind of did some classroom exercises, when we were moving around, like get some ladies together and have some exercise classes. So that, and I did get my certification for that. I've, like I said, always been conscientious about how I ate, but I also wanted to be out in nature. Like I've always loved being out in nature. And I think that that's a healing modality in and of itself. As a child, it's so crazy. I don't have any brothers. I was like all girls. So I would climb up in a tree and just hide from the world. And I think I just was comforted by being in that tree. And I guess all of the healing properties from the tree, like I just love nature. And I find that those simple things have been able to sustain me. And I was blessed to see another birthday, and I'm in a totally different season of my life, but I'm blessed. I'm so grateful for it. And I think those little tidbits of things built on each other, and it just got me to the place that I am now.
Yeah, yeah. Very similar experiences. Um, we had a pear tree and two apple trees in our yard. And I remember climbing the apple tree, picking an apple, and sitting up there on a branch, eating it.
Yes.
And just feeling so good. And probably wishing that I understood why, but it didn't matter. Probably because I was hungry and the apple was there. Because, the other piece was, for me, if I went back in the house, it was like, it's done. You're done for the day. You're in. Let me find you something to do. And so I was trying to stay out as long as possible. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about a couple of these common symptoms. Mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, even depression.
Mhm.
How much of that is actually, well, I know it's hormonal imbalance, but how much of that hormonal imbalance is, say, due to the lack of fruits and vegetables in your body? And it has nothing to, I mean, what's this? What do you understand about it?
This is what I found is that our bodies are so full of, you hear a lot about the GMO, all of these preservative, all of these things to keep our foods packaged, things that are injected in animals to keep them to get bigger. Like there's just so much toxicity we're getting, even in our water. I was reading some information about water, like what water is really pure. So there's like, if you take all of those, the cleaning products you use, your perfumes, your makeup, like we're just getting toxicity a lot. And those things, if you're not finding ways to detox and purge them, then they're going to be throwing your hormones off, and you're going to have some experiences as a result. And each person is going to be a little different based on, what their day-to-day activities are or how they're eating. So with me, I tried, and I've done this for years. I don't even remember when it started, but I would do seasonal detoxes. I think, remember when there was like this lemonade diet or something that
Yeah.
came out? You did a,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember trying that, and I remember I felt amazing when I did it. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm just gonna make this a part of my life, and I would do it seasonally. And that's one of the things, like in the programs that I provide, is like, that's where you start. It's the food. You got to have good nutrient rich foods, and that's going to be your medicine. Food is thy medicine. So that will help you alleviate some of the symptoms that you're getting. But I don't want to discount the fact that some people can have a proclivity to go into depression. They don't know what's happening. That's one of the reasons why I want to have the conversation. If you know what's up the road and you're prepared for it, you can navigate it and you won't find yourself overwhelmed and unable to manage. I think that's part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm on the holistic natural path, so I don't speak on the things you have to go to the doctor to get. But you have to think about the fact that decades and decades ago, when women went into the doctors and said they got this thing going on and they didn't know it was perimenopause or menopause, and doctors like, here's your RX for it. And that was the answer. That was the answer. But if you're going through things and you feel depressed, you should seek out medical attention. That's the first I would say, because I have did a lot of research, and there are women who went through really serious depressions, but I don't know what else was going on in their life before they came into the perimenopausal state. I don't know.
And, I love how you kind of laid that out, because I have this thing that, Western medicine, our doctors, many of whom coming out of medical school, really have it on their hearts to help people.
Yes.
And over the course of time, they get themselves so indoctrinated in the pharma psychology that it's sometimes hard to make the shift and navigate themselves out of it and into something that they may even have believed going in, which was, there's got to be a combination of holistic and, the medicine world. And because we as individuals have given ourselves to the edict that doctors know all, doctors have all of the answers, we've boxed ourselves in. And I know some doctors that say now, of course, like all of us or most of us, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done some things differently. And, when I look at the fact that there are so many people who will not take responsibility for their health, it really, it breaks my heart.
Right.
People
but some of that is a lack of knowledge, because we've been given a spoon of like, this is what you're supposed to do, follow my regiment. So that's where these conversations come in. It's so important. And one thing I will piggyback on, and I'll let you keep going with the conversation, is that when it comes to menopause and women seeking this medical help, they have to also know the doctor's background. Most doctors can opt out of learning anything about menopause as part of their curriculum. If they do, it's very little about menopause. Now, I hope that's changing, but by and large, that's basically what it is. And add nutrition to it. They didn't take years.
Exactly.
So this is a compounded problem.
Exactly. And, until recently, there weren't that many female doctors that were of various disciplines that you could actually go to. So you found yourself sitting in front of a man with a female issue and wondering how
like,
and I can only imagine that, especially if he had a wife, he only really wanted to do what he thought was the best thing for you, his patient. But a man is a man, is not a woman, and I think that makes a difference too. I know that I was one of the first of my friends who said, if it's not a female doctor, I'm not going. Is there a female doctor in this network? I will go wherever I have to go to get to her,
Yeah.
because I felt like there was more of a direct correlation for understanding what my issues may have been. And, still didn't get me the holistic view. So I'm happy to see the number of naturopathic doctors that are out here now, the number of alternative medicine and functional medicine doctors that are available now and can come under some insurance plans, because that's been a huge driver for us as well.
Yes, 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 yeah. I am a big fan of naturopaths, herbalists, and I actually have gone down the path I think it was maybe last year, I can't remember, of using an acupuncturist. And you can use acupuncture for menopause. That's not what I was seeing the acupuncturist for, but it is available. There are so many opportunities to look at resources that can serve you as the first line of defense before you go a route that may be a permanent decision.
And by a permanent decision, I want to come back to that, but I want to talk a little more about the symptoms here.
Okay.
And the fact that, they sometimes, you're a woman in your early 20s and you could be having some of these symptoms. What does that mean?
Yeah. And that's why it's important to have this conversation, because some women are going through things and they're not sure what's happening, and they're going to the doctor and they're not aware of the fact that they're in a perimenopause stage. So that's the period before you go through menopause. And because of some of the ways our lifestyle is and our diet is, that can bring people, women, into perimenopause as early as their 20s. So it is cases out there. I've actually talked to someone who ended up going through it a little early. But perimenopause is a place that a lot of these little symptoms will show up, and you're not sure, wow, this is part of the stage before I get to menopause. They're not making the connection. If you have heart palpitation and you're like, oh, I need to go to the doctor because I think I'm having a heart attack, that's one of the symptoms of perimenopause. I think Oprah brought that to everybody's attention when she was going through it. Oh my gosh, that was like a decade ago that she was on television. So it's just a myriad of different things. And as you notice one or two things, and it doesn't, start looking into perimenopause, because there are a stair step of different things that will show up that are not in the norm of what you're used to. Another one is the weight gain. That was the one that I'm just like, we're going to figure out an answer to this, because I cannot be overweight and in the doctor's office dealing with insulin shots. Like, that is not happening.
I know. And that is one that a lot of women think, well, that's natural because I'm getting up there in age. But one of the things I think that has been recognized is that if it's occurring during menopause, it has more of a tendency or propensity of staying.
Stubborn.
And so, regardless of you getting on the other side of it, you're figuring, oh, I've carried this weight now for so long, it's going to be with me for life. And it could be, except that there are some things that you can do that can really impact that and reverse that. And you talked about something permanent. What are you referring to there? And let's kind of shift the conversation to that a little bit.
This is a landmine. There is an option for those women who choose to go to the doctor and get a prescription to resolve the symptoms of menopause or perimenopause. And it is hormone replacement therapy. And this is a process by which they try to determine where your hormone levels are and provide a pharmaceutical replacement to try to rebalance those hormones out. and it's a trial and error process. Now, a couple of decades ago, there was a major concern that hormone replacement therapies was related to cancer. So I think that they redid the studies and the numbers are better, and they're not exactly tied to the cancers to the greater degree. But I would encourage you to look into it, because once you go on hormone replacement therapy, it's almost a life choice, like you're on it for the remainder of your life. And trying to come off can be detrimental to your health.
Wow.
So did I say that nicely where people can heed?
Really did. And I think that, you struck a nerve with being on this medication for life. Something synthetic that you are taking to regulate something that gets regulated naturally and can get regulated naturally.
Yeah.
Yet, once you start down this road, it's kind of like you're going to be going down that road forever. And the problem becomes not so much the hormonal replacement and the therapy around it, but the therapy itself can lead to other issues within your body.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So you're thinking you're correcting one thing, and yeah, I got to be on this for the rest of my life. But have you also considered that that thing could lead to not one, but a number of other things? I have to admit that when, I don't know, the FDA or whoever decided that it was important to put the precautions on drug prescriptions, and you got to see this drug will do A, B, and C, and the counter or contraindications and the negative effects may be, and then you got a list arm's length long. I was like, okay, that's not something I want in me.
Yeah.
Even if you're telling me for 4 days or 10 days, I'm like, no. And one of them is death,
Very last one you read down is like possible death. I'm just like,
brain damage and all of these things. I'm like, okay, so let me do the math here.
mm-hmm.
Is it worth it for me to figure out something else?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe eat some more vegetables, eat another salad a day,
Yeah.
or do this. And I don't want people to think that I'm kind of touting that a salad a day is gonna, cure all of your ailments. But there are studies that show that certain vegetables, certain fruits, certain roots actually help the body to get into its recovery cycle, and it has the nutrients that it needs to pull on in order to affect the change to better health.
Yeah.
And
estrogen and progesterone. I mean, and in cruciferous vegetables, you have your flaxseed. I mean, these are things that I incorporate. Avocados, like, yeah, this is my prescription right here. It's all in my refrigerator.
yes.
And also point out is that there are cases where women need that, and that's an option. So we just want to say, just be cognizant. If that's the option for you, good. But my platform is health and wellness on the most natural, holistic way possible. And Lynn, you know more than I know about all of the doctors that have came into this space to shift the way that they were treating their patients. So you're speaking from the source.
I am, and I want to talk about some of those vegetables and fruit, but I often find it helpful to bring in a couple of those stories. And I have to tell you, the one that got me, there's two that really kind of, did that for me. One was me, after we had interviewed Dr. Neil Barnard, I had an opportunity to ask a couple of additional questions, and I shared with him the story of the fact that my dad died at age 29 of a massive heart attack. And he was without words for a moment. And he basically put his hands together like this. He took a deep breath and he said, "I am so sorry. That should never have happened." And I knew exactly what he meant, which was, if he had known that what he was eating was contributing to this possibility, I am certain, and I am certain that most men with families that they love, most women with families that they love, most parents with children that they love will think again and think harder and look more diligently to some of the other things that we can bring into our lives and our families in order to shift from something like that occurring. The second story was, and I'll make it really short, was Dr. Rizwan Bukhari, heart surgeon, talked about how, he's the last line of defense. When people come see him, they're ready to go under the knife to get their chest cracked open and, get in that heart and, dig stuff out or whatever they do that just doesn't sound great to me. But he said, and I talk to my patients and I say, there's no guarantees that you're even going to come out of this.
Right.
But if there is a way that you can do this without having to even undergo the knife, would you consider it? And they're open to hearing initially, but when they find out, when they find out that it means that they have to change their diet and lifestyle, what they're eating, they're like, nope, we're going for the surgery. Crack me open, do what you got to do. And I'm just astounded.
No.
Right. But there's story after story after story, evidence upon evidence of the number of people that have taken the doctors up on those options. And, 6 months later, a quadruple bypass turns out to be a very healthy heart, no blockage, somebody about to undergo eye surgery on this nutritionally dense diet that focuses on the things that the eyes really pull in. Surgery was either to a lesser degree or not needed. I actually heard stories of people who were suffering from blindness being able to get on this diet and recover some sight. Now, of course, they weren't going to 20/20, but they couldn't see.
Yeah, Monica must.
I'm like,
right.
When I broke my wrist, I was in the hospital and, I was just observing who's here, what are they here for? And I saw this young woman. She was probably 100 pounds overweight, but she was very agile. She was moving very well, but she was in the hospital. Something was wrong. And I guarantee you, they were not talking to her about changing her diet. And I just wanted to just step out of my lane and go up and say something to her. But the other piece of it is too, Beverly, and let's talk about this for a minute. When people are in the space of illness, they sometimes don't hear what's being offered up as, potential alternatives and and I don't know, does that still go back to people not wanting to take responsibility for their own health and life, or what? What's your take on that?
My thing is, I'm not a TV watcher. And I did a TV fast for 30 days one time. And the fog that lifted by me doing a TV fast was amazing. I challenge any of you out there to do this. So what I learned from that fast was that we hear things over and over and over and over till it's embedded, and then we start repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. So what are the major commercials that you see on television? They are ads for different pharmaceuticals. And then we repeat, oh, I heard this commercial and it can cure this. So it's like the programming is there. So we have to do what you're doing now and keep having the conversation over and over and over until people understand that there is an alternative. There are options for me, but we can't have the conversation one time because people are kind of set in their ways, and it takes a while for you to take things in through repetition. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
different conversation.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. And I commend those who are actually actively seeking answers in this realm of holistic medicine. Even as a certified hypnotherapist, I bring in ways for weight loss to occur. And it really is about making different food choices and hearing your body talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm,
And you tap
mm-hmm,
hypnosis because that's what's happening. You're being hypnotized.
mm-hmm. And we think hypnosis is, Las Vegas stage when it's happening every day. If you're watching a
Right?
pharma commercial or a Burger King commercial,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
True.
and we don't see enough commercials about, the growing broccoli and bringing, fresh broccoli from the garden to the table,
Right.
and what that looks like, what you can expect. All of the cooking shows on TV are all saturated with these amazing tastes that are killing us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we don't see and I might have to start that TV show that is.
You for what you're doing. I love when your pop-ups come and like, oh, she's got a new guest. We're talking something, health and wellness, something, and I learn a lot from your guests. So I totally support you and what you're doing because this message is needed, and especially pertaining to our women in menopause. I don't remember the number, but the number of us who are going through menopause is huge. And it's not like it's a pocket. It is global. This affects everybody everywhere. This needs to be in corporations so they know what's happening to their women. Lynn, we need to start a movement.
The menopause movement. And let's talk real quick about how it actually impacts mental health.
Mm-hmm.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right. Well, the thing about menopause is like if you don't know what's happening and you're finding yourself going into a fog, one of the symptoms that I've seen on lists is like you go through these senior moments like you can't remember something. It's hard to recall. And I feel like that is a part of life in general. I've had conversations with kids. I mean, when I say kids, I mean millennials, and they'll go through a fog and they can't remember because they're too busy running. But anyway, it happens. But if you're not doing things to keep your mind sharp, I know elderly people do puzzles and they read books, and some people listen to classical music or try to learn a foreign language. You have to do these things. But if you're not, and you're in this space of dealing with this one thought, that thought manifests itself into this dark gray spot, and you find yourself where you dug a hole and you can't get out, and you need help. At that point, you need to reach out to a professional person in the medical community, your doctor. They have all of these like hotlines that you can call in for depression, because we were going through the pandemic, and people were like not having the ability to go out and socialize. Like, there are platforms that are available to support you, but this is something that is so vital, because sometimes people are not aware that they're in these stages of depression, and then it can lead to suicidal thoughts, and we don't want people to be in that space.
Um, not to be morbid, but I think it's important for us to recognize and keep an eye out for what those statistics are going to be, because there has been an uptick. And, if once again, if I knew then some of the stuff that I know now, it, I cannot tell you the thoughts about what it is that I'd be doing right now. And everybody has to go their own journey, however it goes, zigzag, up and down, in and out. And that is what menopause is. It's a journey.
Truly, it's a journey.
And so this may seem like a weird question, but if we have young girls, 9, 12, 13, who are developing breast cancer, and we have men who are developing breast cancer because they're developing breast nodules, are men also susceptible to not necessarily menopause as it is stated, but hormonal stuff?
Yeah, men have problems with their estrogen and their testosterone. As they age, they're coming into a season where they're running into problems with their prostate. So these are hormonal fixes that we can take a proactive role by the way we eat. But if you don't, they just escalate into things that end up being something that throws you into the doctor's office or into a surgery situation. So yeah, men go through this too. Menopause, there's something that men go through equally. But sometimes men have a tendency to like really not talk about many things that's going on with them and not even want to seek any support. But at least women will go in to get some help. But my conversation is like, have these discussions early on so you know what's going on and you can prepare, and you won't be in this state of shock when the doctor is telling you, oh, well, you're in perimenopause or menopause. I think that this needs to be a conversation that's had in the schools to introduce, part of the health classes. I think I was telling you that here in the United States, we have an obsession with youth. I was listening to some podcasts over in Europe, and they are so open and so eager to have conversations and dialogues around menopause. And the timing is amazing because just like about a couple of days ago or last week, there was this menopause series that was launched through like Channel 4 over in Europe. And I tried to download it or pull it up, and it's like blocked because it's over there and I can't get it, but I did share it with you. And this lady named Davida was doing a series in conjunction with a doctor to talk about symptoms of menopause and perimenopause and alternatives on how to manage through this season. So here in the United States, I'm good with being recognizing the young people, but we have a whole section of society here in the US who are going through things that they're not really knowledgeable about, and they should have had this information decades before, just to have a knowledge. We prepare for driving and all of the processes of driving. We prepare you for education, all these processes. But when it comes to womanhood, you just wake up one day and you're there. Where's the process of the womanhood? And the thing about it, once you get here and you do navigate it, this is the best season of your life. I love this, absolutely love it. I don't say that the symptoms that I went through were shocking to me because I'm a reader and I research, but it's just like some of the symptoms that I was going through, I couldn't understand, and I need some more information. But I was able to detect it, find a way to shift it, and I'm good. I love menopause, and I want to share with other women, like, don't dread this time. This is your time. You've been through all these things in life and you made it here. You are good. This is your time. Like, Lynn, I am so thrilled. Like, kids are gone, you're at retirement, and you can just set your own course for life. Like, where's the book that you're supposed to write? Where's the people you're supposed to mentor? Where's the platform where we need to reach out and support each other? We're the sage women in this stage. I love it. I'm preaching, so I'm going to stop.
I love it. I love it. Yes. And you touched on so many awesome points. You're right. When you get to this stage, you've got some new choices to make. And what's really nice is when you can choose to make what you eat different and do that part of your life different. You talked about, the fact that we often look for regaining our youth. Well, what if the foods that we eat could actually be our fountain of youth? And, if we didn't know it, we'd think that it was something that, somebody needed to go find for us, when it is right here with the combination of the kinds of foods that we eat. And on that note, I want to make sure that our viewers know that they can download their copy of the top 15 alkaline foods that I think really do kind of open up your fountain of youth. And then I know that you have a special gift for our audience as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have a link that I provided to Lynn, and I want to share it with you for being here and being a part of the conversation of menopause. And don't let it stop here, but it's 6 ways to bust through belly fat. And that's one of the biggest challenge I think that women have when you're going through menopause, you're in menopause, or just life in general. You don't want to have this girth around your waist, because that's one of your indicators of health. So download the book. It's my gift from you. And I would love to hear what your experience was after you go through the 6 steps.
Awesome. I love that. So our audience has available to them 2 gifts, and yours is already in the info on the bottom of the video. So jump in there and leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought was thought-provoking in this conversation that we shared. And we're not quite done yet, so hang tight, because I have one more question for Beverly. I really find that it's important for me to ask all of my guests, is there some wisdom that you believe is important that you want to share with our audience in this last bit of time that we're spending here together, something that you want to actually have a positive impact on them?
My thing is, one, mindset. To me, everything that you approach, come at it with the most positive, optimistic mindset possible. Because if you have that, that will set you on a path to navigate like what's in the best interest. We have smart bodies, and this is the part where you're going to be thinking through, what is it intuitively I need to serve myself and my body to be healthy? And if without health, you don't have anything. Like, that is the foundation of life. And you want to be cognizant about what your options are, but approach it positively, because what you think about, you bring about.
Yes, awesome. Oh, such wisdom. Thank you so much. And once again, to our audience, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you have a topic that you would like for me to bring some conversation around, and we're going to talk more about menopause, because menopause is a bigger subject than just one episode. It's a bigger subject that, there's so many facets to it. And we're human beings. It's about who we be at any given point in time, who we are being, who we are now, who we wish to become, because as we're living, we are also becoming. And I want to, all of my guests want to help you to be better at understanding how it is you can become your best you. And once again, Beverly's free ebook, 6 Ways to Bust Through Belly Fat, is just below the video. So make sure that you grab it, and I'll share the link for the top 15 alkaline foods, because it is our food that is going to give us the biggest part of our wealth back. And if you don't know, this is a place where you can find out more. I have other resources for you. So do stay, come back, visit us again, be a part of the additional conversation, because our goal is to make sure that you have the information you need, just like we were talking about earlier, to make those decisions, those choices that are going to take you into a life of longevity and good health. And if you're a health wisdom or wealth practitioner and you'd like to share your knowledge and expertise with our audience, be in this conversation, just reach out to me. PM me, message me on Facebook, message me on LinkedIn, email me at vlyn@p3academy.com. Let's connect. I love being in these conversations because I know that the ripple effect is in process, and I want you to be a part of this as well. So, okay, everyone, thank you once again for joining us today. We've got some exciting things coming up in future episodes. Turn on your notifications, be a part of it all. Like our YouTube channel, subscribe, like our Facebook page, subscribe to YouTube channel, and do us a favor and share. We would love it and appreciate it if you share it and help us get the message out. So thanks. Until next time, be well, live, love, and be a bigger positive impact in your world. Bye for now.
Bye.